All right, so if you've tried everything under the moon to try to get clients and you're bought into this whole idea of outbound prospecting and you're doing it without any results, I want you to stop. I want you to pause for a second. I'm going to share with you in this video probably what's going on, why maybe you have some resentment towards your business and maybe even cold calling, and I'm going to change it all for you. I'm going to walk you through a new strategy, a new way of doing things, such that number one, you can start getting a ton of new clients. You can start blowing up your business. You can start making amazing money. And most importantly, you could probably fall in love with your business all over again. So let me share with you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so let's look at first off, what probably is the issue, why cold calling is so difficult for most real estate agents. All right. So the first thing that we have to look at is we have to establish the market for you to really understand what's going on here. So there are four segments of the marketplace. And the first segment is what we call super. I mean, we don't even call this part of the funnel, but for right now, we're going to say they are not selling. So this is about 30% of the market. 30% of the people you talk to just aren't moving, and that's okay. There's a lot of people that just simply are not moving. And then you have another 30% that are in this process of like thinking it through, like they're having thoughts about it. And that's another 30%. We call this top of funnel. So we're going to use that term a lot today. So we call that top of funnel business. Then there's another 30% that are actually, they've already made the decision. So they're selling. It's just a matter of when. So they're selling in the next 6 to 12 months. There's another 30% there. And we call this middle of funnel. And then there's 10%, that are selling right now. So they're doing something right now. And this is, of course, bottom of funnel, right? Okay. Now, like most agents, here's where the problem really starts. Most agents are spending all of their time going after the bottom of funnel. And why? It's really simple. They just want cash and they want it fast. Fair? I think everybody watching this or listening to this will say, okay, that makes sense. Now, there's a lot of problems, however, with going after this business. And once you see this, you're going to really understand this. This is what we call, what most agents are doing, a red ocean strategy. Let me explain exactly what's going on here. So when we look at this business and we say, okay, so you got bottom of funnel, we're going to split this into three now. So we have top of funnel, you've got middle of funnel, and then you have bottom of funnel. The issue with this is that because this segment of the marketplace down at the bottom is looking to transact, they're selling right now. We're talking about the for sale by owners, the expired listings, things of that nature. These are people that you could get listings from right away. You have so many other, we call this is why it's called the red ocean, because it's bloody waters. Look at what's happening here. If you look at the other side of this model, there's the largest portion of competition also going after that business. And as the triangle goes up, you get less and less and less competition. Yeah? So watch. So in the middle of funnel, you have less. And then at the top of funnel, this is where you have the least amount of competition. And so the first issue that we have to look at is say, okay, are you spending all of your effort in the bottom of the funnel, going after what they call the low hanging fruit, which is very appealing to an agent who doesn't have a lot of money, who's maybe just getting started, who needs money as fast as possible? I totally get it. And I'm going to, in just a second, walk you through what we call a blue ocean strategy, where you could reap some of the benefits of a fast cash without having to deal with any competitors. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a second. And of course, most of the lead sources I'm going to talk about, I've got scripts for all of them. There's a link in the description. You can download that script book right now and kind of follow along if you'd like. Okay. Now, the problem is with going after bottom of funnel, we said number one is that there's just so much competition. I mean, your biggest issue with going after expired listings and for sale by owners and canceled and withdrawn listings is when you attempt to do what it is that you believe you should be doing to grow your business, which is to proactively go out there and reach out to people, which is what you should be doing. You deserve a lot of credit for that. The problem is you finally pick up this thing that seems 10,000 pounds on some days. You finally make the call just to hear the prospect say, you're the 30th call that I've gotten in the last hour. And that immediately, that feeling in the pit of your stomach says, oh boy, here we go. And it's such a difficult situation to deal with emotionally. I get it. So that's the first problem. There's more problems with going after the bottom of funnel. The second issue is price point. You don't get to decide which price point you work when you're going after bottom of funnel business. It is what it is. For most of you, it's probably at a price point that either A, is much lower than what you would prefer to work, which is lowering your average commission per transaction, thus your profitability, or it's a price point in your market that is very, very difficult to move. Number three, we're going to put the property itself. Many of these properties, not every single one, I understand, but a lot of these properties that are at the bottom of funnel, like expired, canceled, withdrawn, for sale by owner, the actual properties themselves, a lot of times, they're probably less than desirable. Thus, probably the reason why they didn't sell. Number one is because the price was probably too high. Number two, the property was less than desirable. And so if you could choose, you would probably pick a different type of property to sell if you had a choice in the matter, but you don't when you go after the bottom of funnel. And then number four, the fourth issue with this is, we'll say, this is the threes, proximity. Proximity, or we'll say location. This is a big one. An expired listing comes up and you set an appointment and it's an hour and a half away. So I got to go drive an hour and a half away, go deal with a bunch of competition. I'm in this beauty pageant with all these other agents, and they've told you, yep, we're interviewing agents this week. Come on over. You're the next one up. We've got our popcorn ready. You're going to get up on stage. We'll sit back while you do your dog and pony show. And then we'll let you know which one of you mules that we will decide after we get your biggest pitch. We'll beat you all up on commission, and then we'll decide who we want to hire. So then you have to deal with all the competition, go deal with the property that has probably a less than desirable price property and proximity to where you would prefer to work. Now, that's the issue. So you're like, all right, well, let's get into the solution. So this is what we call, and I'm going to walk you guys through, a blue ocean strategy. Now, if you haven't read the book, it's highly recommended, and it's called Blue Ocean Strategies. The big idea is to go after and to build a business where you're not having to deal with any competitors whatsoever. And it puts you in a situation where you can become more profitable. But more importantly than that, you can actually build a business like that's ideal, that fits your criteria, that fits your lifestyle. And so let me walk you through what we would call like a short-term solution to this problem. So let's pretend that you still have a massive need to generate cash flow in your business. You don't have a lot of repeat and referral business yet. I understand a lot of agents that watch that are on the channel are not in a position where they can just stop prospecting. They still have to go out there and generate business every day. So that's the context in which I'm going to walk you through the short-term solution. Then we'll get into the long-term solution. So if we start at the bottom of funnel, and again, I understand the need of having to go after business because you need cash with people that are doing business right now. Okay. Well, rather than going after perhaps expired listings or withdrawn listings or canceled listings or even for sale by owners, perhaps what you do is this is short term, go after what we call for rent by owners. And again, I've got a script on exactly what you're going to say to these prospects. There's a link to that. You can grab it right in the description. And I just want you to hear me out for a second. This is the same conversation I'm having with agents that I work with. And that is this, that you don't want to be in the bottom of funnel for a long period of time. You want to get out of this bottom of funnel as soon as you can. So the first source you're going to go after are for rent by owners. These are people that are trying to lease out their properties on their own without an agent. And you're going to go after these you're going to prospect these for rent by owners, not to get the listing to sell the property, but the actual lease listing itself. This is by far and away the fastest, easiest way to consistent cash flow with absolute no competition. You see, if you call a for rent by owner today, you hop on Zillow and you call a for rent by owner, or maybe you get them from Mojo or RedX or Vulcan 7 or something like that, and you call a for rent by owner and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is, Brandon with XYZ Real Estate. Listen, before you hang up, I was hoping to ask you something about the home you have for rent. Would that be okay? Sure. Listen, I'm not calling to list the home. I know you're not selling the home. And then you talk about your services to put their rental property in front of the most highly qualified tenants possible and charge 1 month's rent to do that. That is a very, very, very compelling offer. And because there's no competitors, because it's not like an expired listing where 20, 30, 40, 100 agents are calling that person every single day, you might not have any agents in your market doing this. Zero, could be zero. You'll find that you can turn these around and generate capital extremely quickly. Now, like I just said, the goal is to get out of the bottom of funnel. It's not to build a business around this bottom of funnel business, the business model that the only upside to the bottom of funnel business is cash. And so I should say cash flow. Once you have solved the cash flow problem in your business, then you really want to get out of that and start building a business on purpose, a business that you're proud of, a business that you can absolutely scale the way that I think that you wanted to when you first got in this business. And what I mean by that is this. So this will solve all of your cash flow needs. It's just, that doesn't mean, let me just be really, really, really clear. This doesn't mean that you stop calling expired listings, that you stop calling withdrawn, canceled, for sale by owners. If you're having success with them, by all means, keep continuing to do that. But you might find that you can get to the same outcome, meaning how many of you watching this video right now that are just working this bottom of funnel business, expired, canceled, withdrawn, for sale by owner, are making $10,000 a month, $100,000 a year consistently, month in and month out? If the answer is yes, continue to do it. If the answer is no, however, I've given you another option. I've given you another option to get to that first $5,000 or $10,000 a month in this business, which is the hardest money to make in this business. Once you start making that money, everything becomes easier. But I've given you another option to start making that type of money with a lot less BS to deal with, quite frankly, a lot less headache, a lot less competition. Um, and it's a business model that you can run until you don't need to anymore. All right. Now, once that's solved, we can start to look at, okay, well, middle of funnel. As you're making cash, leasing listings, and whatever other sources at the bottom of funnel that you're going after, you at the same time should be starting to build your pipeline for your sales business. So, what can we go after with the middle of funnel business? So, when I say middle of funnel, these are people that are looking, that have motivation to sell their home in the near future. I'm talking about 6 to 12 months, okay? Which in the grand scheme of things is not that long. I mean, do you plan on being in the business, in August? I hope so. If the answer is yes, then this should be very relevant to you. So, and we have to do this in a way that still we have very low competition. So, what are some examples? Well, where I think you should really focus your time in the middle of the funnel are downsizers, which we'll talk about, and then absentee owners. So these are the two lead sources that you can focus on here in the middle of funnel. And these are sources of business, downsizers. These are baby boomers that are of retirement age, that have homes where they raise their family, that typically have a master bedroom that's on the second floor. And these people are going to cash out of this property because they typically have them paid off for a lot of equity. They've been in there for a long time, 20 years plus. They've got all this equity in there. They're going to sell the big home. Okay. They're going to sell the big home where they raise their family. They're going to use a portion of those funds, probably pay cash for something smaller, one story. A lot of them are moving into one-story condos, buy cash, and start that next phase of life. So it's a really good opportunity to serve that demographic. Again, this now you're starting to get into a business model where you get to decide where you work. You get to pick, literally, you get to pick the zip code or the city, even the street, even the neighborhoods you want to work. You get to pick the type of property, demographic, et cetera, et cetera. And you get to start to build a business by design. This is really nice. You get to pick the price point you go after, et cetera. Then the next source is absentee owners. These are people that have second homes or rental properties. A lot of these will come from, that's right, you guessed it, from your for rent by owner business. So these are a lot of people who have rental properties who no longer want to be a landlord. They want to cash out on that investment and do something else with the money. This is another really good opportunity for you to go after low competition with people that have very high motivation to sell these properties. So you could start working that middle of funnel business. And then lastly, top of funnel, you could start to just do your circle prospecting, which we'll just define that a little bit. We'll just define that as just listed, just sold, and bullseye prospecting. And so we could start to fill the top of the funnel with business that you would, if you could wave a wand, and say, I only want listings in these neighborhoods with this type of property at this price point, you're going to be able to get that from your top of funnel business. Now, yes, is this more of a long-term play? Absolutely 100%. But you've got to start building towards that if you plan on having a future in this business so that one day, listen up, listen very closely because I screwed this up for way too long. Too many agents spend all of their time in the bottom of this funnel and they wake up in 10 years still chasing expired listings. If you don't want to do that, which most of you probably don't, then we have to diversify our lead generation and make sure that not only diversify our lead generation, but we have to ensure that we take care of the clients that we serve as we build our business so that in 3 or 4 or 5 years, your repeat and referral business is all is also fully optimized, where your clients that you're serving right now, because you're giving them such a great experience, come back to do business with you in the future and refer you to other people. So that's a whole nother video. We'll save that for another day. But the assumption is that you're taking care of your clients and you're diversifying lead generation with strangers. So what do we have to do? Let's just say, for this example in this conversation, that you're going to have 30 conversations per day. All right. 30 conversations per day with new prospects. Well, you could just divide this up really simply. Every single day, you could say, all right, well, my bottom of funnel business, I'm going to do, we'll say we're going to do 8 conversations with my bottom of funnel business because I need cash flow. And then I'm going to do 11 in my middle of funnel and 11 in my top of funnel. And that's how I'm going to look at my contact distribution on a daily basis. So as I'm prospecting every day, I'm going to keep it super, super simple. I'm going to go 8, 11, and 11. I'm going to hit my 30 conversations, focus on each area of my sales pipeline. So as you start to do that, as you start to build cash flow, this is a short-term solution. Let me walk you through what you can do long-term to scale your business with a business that you're going to absolutely love. So I call this the promised land. This is the business that you ultimately want to get to. And that is a business where we touched on it earlier, but this is a business where you have listings in the exact neighborhoods that you want to serve. You become that go-to agent in those neighborhoods. You've got a high value personal brand where you sell real estate, where everybody knows you. You have market share in this area. Your average price point is exactly where you want it to be. Your average commission per deal is exactly where you want it to be. And the type of properties represent the type of business that you dream about. All right. So that's what when I'm talking about promised land, that's what I'm talking about. So in order to get that, here's what is required. So this is a 6-month plan. Again, if you could be patient, you can have the business of your dreams. Okay. But here's what it requires. So in month 1, all right. So this is going to assume you're doing not all, but remember we talked about you doing essentially 22 contacts in your middle of funnel and top of funnel. So here's the conversion. All right. We know that about 5% of your conversations will turn into one qualified lead. And by qualified lead, what I mean is that they have given you specific reasons as to why they want to move. So they have clear motivation, they have clear timelines, and they have invited you to interview to list the home when the day comes for them to put it on the market. Okay. So 5% of your conversations in the middle of funnel and top of funnel should turn into one of these qualified leads. So in month 1, you're having 22 conversations, right? Per day over 20 working days on average. That's 440 conversations. If we multiply that by 5%, here, let's do that. So 440 times 0.05. So we're going to get, in month 1, you're going to get about 22 qualified leads in the pipeline. And then what's going to happen? All right. So we're going to say in month 1. In month 2, so now you've got 22. So these are all people, right, in that first month who say, yep, we're going to do something in the next 6 to 12 months. Okay. So those 22 people now in your next month, they push down, right? So you got 22 new, and then you have another 22 that are now further down the pipeline. In month 3, you could see how this is going to work. So now in month 3, you've had the leads that came from month 1. Now they're further down the funnel. You got 22 from month 2, and then you got another 22 from this month. In month 4, so now you've got a 4-month pipeline. 3, 4. You have a 4-month pipeline. We call this pipeline maturity. So this is the visual that I talk about all the time. So in this month, let's just say you started this in January. So you get January, February, March. In April, you got another 22, but you had 22 leads that pushed down from March. You had 22 that pushed down from February. And now the leads that you generated from January are now 4 months old. They're almost ready to transact. So then we get into May. And I have many, many agents that I coach that have gone through this model. You can go back and watch those interviews on the YouTube channel. They walk you through this exact thing. All right. The whole time, remember, you're getting cash flow from the bottom of funnel. So then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. In our 5th month, we've got 22 more, and all these leads carry over. Okay. And then in May, and then we got June, right? So now we've been doing this for 6 months. And now finally, let me walk you through the conversions. Okay. Finally, you have these 22 people that are at the bottom of the funnel that took 6 months of nurturing and following up. And that'll be another video. I walk you through how to do that, that are ready to do something. You don't get all 22. Okay. So don't get too excited, but let me walk you through what is absolutely super realistic. All right. Of those 22 people, here's exactly what we see. We see with these leads, we see about a 40 to 50% lead to appointment set ratio. Okay. So in this context, let's just be really, really conservative and say that you're on the bottom end of that. Okay. And that you have 8 appointments set from the 22 people that you spoke to, remember, 6 months ago, and they've gone through your pipeline. Now they've matured. So you've set 8. Well, the other thing that we see is about, on average, an 80% appointment set to appointment met ratio. Because again, the reason why these ratios are so high is because of where the business is coming from. You're not having to deal with all the competitors, right? So let's just say you actually meet with 6. We also know with this business model that you have about an 80% met to taken ratio, which means that on 6 listing appointments, that you should be able to take between 4 to 5 listings a month every month after you've been doing this for 6 months. And let's just say conservatively, you don't sell every single one, but let's just say that you sell, let's call it 8%. And so you have an 80% listing taken to listing sold, which means that you sell 3 properties per month. The average commission right now is about, and we'll just say that's 36 units for the year. 36 units for the year. And that is just on your new outbound business. We're not talking about referrals. We're not talking about past clients. We're not talking about centers of influence. And on $10,000, that's a $360,000 business plan. If you can put in this work for 6 months, and if you could do this for 6 months, this is absolutely 100% possible. So much so, I'm going to introduce you to an agent right here who's going to walk you through exactly how he's done this for himself.